Rev-Up Slu, the alpha of radio.
Join the United Workers' Party this and every Thursday on Rev-Up Slu 97.1 FM for an educational and informative program, Meet the Opposition. Participate in exciting discussions from 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Be in the know every Thursday on Rev-Up Slu 97.1 from 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m.
It's now time for Meet the Opposition, hosted by Leonard Spider Mantut. Mr. Mantut, welcome.
Yes, good morning to you, Andre. And let me say a special good morning to my guests, who will be introduced to you in a very short moment. Let me welcome all of you who are listening and viewing, not just here in St. Lucia, but I know we have quite a number of viewers in the diaspora, St. Lucians who pay a keen interest in what is happening in their homeland, St. Lucia, and it is our pleasure to keep you informed and to have discussions on the salient issues of what is taking place in this country. Today, we should have a very interesting program because I have on the program today one of the newly endorsed candidates of the United Workers' Party, and of course, as we always do, we'll give you an opportunity to call in to interact with my guests. That is when we open the lines, and you know, the rules are basic. Be courteous to my guests, and of course, try to be brief. And I know some of you want to replace me as host, but you'll have to find another program to do that. So we'll try to keep it brief so that as many people as possible can get to interact with my guests. Now, Andre, before I bring in my guests, there's something I just want to touch on quickly. And that is, I watched a press briefing that takes place before Cabinet on Mondays, and a journalist asked the Prime Minister a question, which I think is a very pertinent question, something that has occupied my mind for some time, but I've realized that it doesn't seem to make it as one of the subjects of concern to our leaders. But in terms of planning, you know, and projecting for a nation, all of those matters have to be taken into account, have to be taken into consideration. So I was very happy when the journalist asked the question. His question was based on information about the NIC. But he segued and said, well, given the fact that our population is depleting, it is a concern that eventually, Andre, basically, to paraphrase, there'll be no funds available if we do not have the people to contribute. Mm-hmm. And so, what is the discussion as far as that is concerned, if any, by the government? And he has that of the Prime Minister, who, by the way, is the Minister of Finance. So I would think that would be something that would be occupying the Prime Minister's mind, because in running a country, you have to project, you have to plan. And so that obviously would have been, well, true to form, the Prime Minister starts by laughing, which he does anytime you ask him a serious question. And I cannot tell you if he's laughing because he doesn't recognize the seriousness of the question or the situation. I do not know if he's simply laughing at us. But whatever the case is, as usual, he laughed. And so he said, well, you know, he is particularly interested in the part about what are we going to do to remedy the situation. And I think in his mind, the only possible solution is for people to have children. That might be one of the solutions. And he laughed and say, well, boy, he has passed the stage where he can do something about it, and so on. And I thought to myself, look, if along the way you want to have a moment of levity, fine. But this is a very serious question, and I, for one, I was particularly interested in hearing what plans the Prime Minister has. Not only because I'm a pensioner, and I want to know...
Oh, you are?
I am, you know. And I want to know that I am secured, but thinking more on a national basis. You understand what I'm saying? You want to know that a program like the NIC is protected and can be continued and will have the resources so that it can, you know, fulfill its role. Well, I would have thought an Alan Chasney, a Titus Pville, a Tommy Descat, a Stephen Fevrier, those guys who take me to even places that I don't fully even understand, by telling me about investment, that they will take my contribution to make investment, to grow the fund and all that kind of things like that. I just want to know there is something being done, Andre.
Mm-hmm.
So, you the leader, you must have the answers. But the Prime Minister laughed and told us that, in effect, that he can't have children anymore, whatever the case, whatever he was saying, and like a big joke. And then he went on to say, you can't make a joke, because some talk show hosts will take you on. Well, I am taking him on. I think that approach to leadership, the Prime Minister must understand. You run in a country and you are influencing people's lives. You cannot take it for a joke when you ask serious questions that have implications for people's future. Okay? We want to hear what are your plans. Now, I would have appreciated better if you had simply said, boy, he has never thought about that, he has no plans. That would not surprise me, first of all, and it would be more genuine. Okay? So, Mr. Prime Minister, if you are not up to the task, do yourself a favor. Do the country a favor. Do not continue to do us that disservice of laughing at all serious matters. You're asking about the death of Tyson, he laughs. You're asking about homicide, he laughs. I mean, you ask him about the situation with the threat to CIP, he laughs. I mean, get serious for a moment, Anyway, I just had to say it. And since he mentioned some talk show hosts, I knew I was one of those talk show hosts who would take that on. And so today, this morning...
By the way, I think in China, I think they're paying the people, I think, $500 as an incentive to have children.
But you see, Andre, that is what people who plan do. But I am not surprised because the Labour Party never had a plan. Okay, the only thing is they wanted to get into government, they bluffed, they lied, they spread propaganda, they do what they had to do. They got into government. But the moment they got into government, that is it. They were exposed. Okay? All the Prime Minister can tell you about law and order, security, is that he recruited 79 police, and he gave the police how many cars, and so on, while the homicide numbers keep going up. Obviously, sir, it takes much more than that to curb the crime situation. Now, I have something to say eventually about universal education at the primary school level and at the secondary school level, because the St. Lucia Labour Party is claiming that they brought about universal secondary school education and primary school education. Now, that is disingenuous. That is intellectual dishonesty. They ought to know better than that. It's like you, Andre, saying to me that the road between the highway and here, okay, after I paved quarters of it, you came and you paved the last quarter and you built the road. I mean, you contributed, yes, but you did not build the road. Further to that, the lack of planning, okay? Let us assume, I'll give you the figures eventually, but let's say there are 20 secondary schools on the island. That is when we achieved universal secondary education. How many were there before you built the last 5 or so? You're saying these other schools that were there before did not contribute to attaining universal secondary school education? You see, this is like, I don't like people insulting my intelligence. I don't like people disrespecting me by bold-faced lying to me, and that is what the St. Lucia Labour Party is doing. So I'm saying, further to that, to show that they have no plans. You remember we went back on family planning some years ago in the 70s? We were very successful with that program, Andre. Back then, St. Lucia was getting low, to the extent that we are having more than, according to Ashanti, more than 4,000 babies a year. Today, I don't know if that's an indictment on the young men in this country, but today we are less than 2,000. Okay? It has been reduced by more than 50%.
What do you think is going on?
Well, first of all, people are planning more. You have more. There are more access to contraception. And, Andre, I don't want to say it because I have no scientific evidence of that, but I'm speculating on that one. I have to tell you that beforehand. I think there's a problem with our men. Those who are not into ladies, those who are unhealthy, those, who are in prison.
Those who are jokers?
Those who are jokers, that kind of thing. So,
and I think maybe the young ladies recognize that.
That's right. So, and women now are more driven into careers. And some people recognize that that would be a hindrance to their career to have a child, so they hold back. And people recognize too, everyone wants to send their child to university and to this and that, and we have 20 children and 3. I don't care what job you have. You'll have a challenge to send all of them to university. So I think all of that contributes to the decrease. But if you are a government who is projecting, who is planning, you would not have ended up having to close down schools, because you would recognize that your campaign, when I say your campaign, I'm talking about government period, your campaign was successful, the population has depleted, has decreased, its birth rate has decreased. So in so many years, you will not have so many secondary or primary school students. So you don't go ahead building schools based on the figures that you had in the 70s and the projections that you had in the 70s. That showed lack of plan. We ended up with some schools with 5 students, 6 students. I mean, I'm not exaggerating, Andre. Schools like Bouton, yes, Debara, and those ones. Those schools literally ended up with more students than teachers. More teachers than students, And so that is what I call planning and projecting. And that's where I have regard for the UWP. And even if I'm no longer into elective politics, I will align myself and affiliate myself with the UWP. But, Andre, let me be honest. The main reason why I am fully aligned with the United Workers' Party is because, Andre, Alan Chasney has presented a slate of candidates. Well, not officially in a sense, because on the 17th of August, there will be a massive meeting on the William Peter Boulevard where 17 candidates will be presented to St. Lucia. We know most of those candidates already. And when I look at that slate of candidates, in terms of their competencies, their ability, their background, who they are, I am telling you, he would be hard-pressed to come close to that. Far less to better than to better that. That is the best team of candidates that has been assembled in the history of St. Lucia. So, that in itself gives me hope. That in itself ensures that I do what I can to ensure that that team becomes the next government of St. Lucia. But Andre, the thing about it is that I have one of them here. Okay? One of those gentlemen who I am very impressed with, because I happen to know his background. I can tell you that is a quality candidate, unquestionably. And that is the kind of people we want to run our country, especially at this time when our country is facing so many crises. So, Andre, let's not keep our people waiting any longer. We have in studio Mr. Titus Pville, the United Workers' Party endorsed candidate for Babono. Good morning to you, sir. Welcome to Meet the Opposition.
Good morning to you, Spider. Good morning to you, Andre.
Good morning.
Welcome. I thank you for welcoming me on meeting on the program, The Government in Waiting.
Now, Andre, let me tell you what these fellas did to me. You have Titus, you have Tommy, you have Stephen Favre and those guys. They cornered me and they said to me, look, that business about Meet the Opposition. Okay, we are the government in waiting. So if I'm going to invite them to the program, I'm inviting them to the program called Government in Waiting. Mm-hmm. So people, since you're familiar with Meet the Opposition, I said, but really and truly, you are on the program Meet the Government in Waiting. So we have Titus Pville this morning.
Sorry about that.
And I had to acquiesce because I need them to come on the program for us to hear from them. And you will understand and you will see for yourself by the end of the program, well, that is a government in waiting. So, Mr. Pville, I said all of what I said about you, but the people don't really know what I'm talking about, some of them. For the benefit of my guests, my listeners, and nowadays viewers, because those on Facebook can see you. So, could you tell us who is Titus Pville? Tell us a little bit about your background.
Yes, thank you very much, Spider. This is one of the most uncomfortable things I have to do since I've got into this politics, is talk about myself. I generally don't do that. But you're right. People may want to know a little bit about.
But can I tell you a secret? Those of us who don't have much to talk about love to talk about ourselves.
Yeah, well, Spider, I am a St. Lucian. Mm-hmm. I was born and raised in Babono, La Quashobo in Babono. Mm-hmm. My father, who's now deceased, Milton Joseph Pville. He was a farmer. He worked many years with the Banana Growers Association in the days of the development of the banana industry. So that's my father, Milton. My mother, Pamela. My father is from Babylon originally. My mother, Pamela, is from Oleon/Chasse. And they together had 7 of us. So I'm one of 7 siblings. My father had more children before.
So your father is one of those people contributing to the high birth rate.
Ensure that St. Lucia's population remains in a healthy state. Yes, but this is where I was born in Lacqua, raised with my siblings. And I went to school at Babylon Primary, Babylon Secondary, RC Secondary, as most of the primary schools were built by the churches. We know that. And then I went to Castries Comprehensive Secondary School.
I know that.
And you were there with me. You were,
right.
I think, a form or 2 ahead of me.
Right.
This is one of the guys who inspired me to go into sports, take sports seriously. Spider Montu, that is.
Does he still take sports seriously?
I think he does. It just
In my
perhaps.
mind, Andre. In my mind, I think so.
Yes. But then I did work with A-Level College. I went to St. Lucia A-Level College at the time. And then I joined the Government Information Service, and I studied journalism. Andre at the time, one of the guys in the media, the persons you look up to for direction and how to read and how to pronounce and how to project the voice. Let
me interrupt here, Andre. That's our last opportunity to be looked up to. We'll have to be looking up to the guy very soon. As a minister in the making.
And we studied journalism, and then I did economics and management, and I did a master's in economics. That's on the academic side of things. But growing up, I grew up in Babylon. Humble beginnings, I know what it is like to go to school without shoes and to feel the pitch burn your feet, I know that.
You actually went through that?
Yes,
Wow.
yes.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, we used to leave the school and go at lunchtime, go home to eat because I couldn't carry the food to school because there was none at the time. So mommy had to cook at lunch and, things like that. And people see people and they don't know who you are. And there is this, you see a final product, you don't see what is between. And I'm not one to give sad stories. I'm proud of everything that we did growing up because my father made farine, cassava, and in the morning at 5:30 you have to be carrying your bag of cassava on your head, and if it rains, my brother, and water and the cassava dropping, the milk, the starch falls on your skin, Spider, you have an everlasting scratch and you can't put down that bag of cassava. Or if you are making toloma and you have to carry this on your back and this thing falls on your back, my brother, and it's raining, but you have to carry it. So I grew up doing that and proudly doing that because it was earning a living in a manner that was proud. I know how to make farine and all of these things. And there was nothing wrong with it. It is what you do to put food on the table. It is what you do to live to see the next day. And you take pride in it. So we did that with happiness, carry water all over La Quashobo to bring home. But that's fine. And so we grew up. I grew up in that kind of environment. I grew up in a Babono where we had a Babono Social and Cultural Club. And everyone made a contribution to the building of the community. So, for instance, we were in the charismatic prayer group, youth prayer group. So we would have, during Babono Day celebrations, we would have plays that we would take part in to raise funds to build a multipurpose center, which is at Babono right now. So I came from a community where I understood that living in community is what builds a society.
I'm curious, who was the district rep at that time?
Mr. Buske. Mr. Buske. And Mr. Buske was after Mass, he was always there meeting the constituents. And it was not a political environment. It was a representative who was there to serve his community. So we did not think in terms of constituency. We thought in terms of community, and this is something, Spider, I want to say very early. Yeah. After we would have won the election and I would have won my seat, I will not have a constituency office. I will have an office for the parliamentary representative, a community office, not a constituency office.
So what's the difference?
The constituency begins to denote a context of political divide. When the constituency issues are over in terms of election, we have a community to build. It's a community of people. You're not building a constituency.
In other words, when you are elected, you no longer the UWP candidate, you're the Babono representative.
And what is Babono? Yeah. Babono is not a constituency. Babono is a community of people living together. So I intend going that direction. My founding is in community work. Whether it's sports, whether it's playing volleyball for Babono or running a track, I did that a lot, or playing cricket. That's what I come from, and that is my foundation.
So, did you grow up with the current MP?
Yes. Mrs. Poyot was a teacher at Babono, and then Lage at the time. So she never taught me at Babono because Lage was combined school, infant primary school was built, and so she taught there at the time. But I have known Miss Albert, Mrs. Poyot, all my life, from Plateau.
So she's like more your senior?
She's my senior. She's my senior. She was my teacher. When I say my teacher, she was among the teachers at the time I was a student going to school. So that's me. And then I worked subsequent to that with the government of St. Lucia at GIS. I was the head of the GIS when I left, and I worked in economic planning. I worked at the Port Authority, St. Lucia and Seaports Authority. I was the director of economics and research there between 96 and 2001. Then I came back to government. I was leading a team to develop what we call a medium-term development strategy for St. Lucia. We did that. We submitted it to the World Bank and so forth. And then Cosmas Richardson, God bless his soul, brought me across to Ministry of Commerce as a director of commerce and industry, because he had seen work I had done in my master's program where I was comparing the development of Taiwan, an island, and the development of St. Lucia, and identifying the lessons that could be learned in transformation. Because my orientation is development economics, so I am deeply involved in development matters.
Titus, just so as you don't lose us, you started saying that you studied journalism, you got into government up to the point of being the head of GIS.
Yes.
And then I hear you talking about economics and those kind of things. So how that happened? I mean, from journalism, they put you in economic development and all that kind of thing. How that happened?
Well, it's interesting story. I was when I went to Mona to do mass communication. One of my lecturers, because you have a number of courses you're doing, and one of them was in economics. Professor Roy Oshie taught me history, for instance, deceased, and Clement Curtin taught economics, and I did the subject very well. And he asked me, where did I study? I said, I never did the subject in my life. My background is in physics, chemistry, and math. That's what I did at A-level. But he said to me, no, you're natural, so you need to go into this area. And he influenced me with these words to pay closer attention to economics and finance. And I said, well, okay, I'll do journalism, but I'll specialize in matters pertaining to finance and economics. And so I did a degree in economics and management in the period 87 to 90. Okay. Paid for it myself, just to let you know, Spider. Right. Take a student loan. I took a student loan at the time. And then I went back to do a master's, and I took a student loan again to do it. So this is over.
Okay, so I understand now how you found yourself in those economic departments. And okay,
right.
All right.
Yeah, and I then served as a PS at Commerce. Subsequently, I went to tourism. I worked with Alan Chasney as his permanent secretary. And I want to talk about that a little later. And then I was sent to the Department of Labor as a permanent secretary. At that time, it was almost a form of punishment. But I actually loved working at the Department of Labor because as an economist, I saw labor as a factor of production. And the question is, how do you organize that so that you could have more output for the country? So I enjoyed that year and change down there. And actually, this is an area I really want to focus on in a new Alan Chasney government. I really want to focus on that because I have some ideas in my head in terms of migration policy and so forth, which can help address the population issue. There is really a proper response to that issue. so that was it, and I joined the CARICOM Secretariat in 2020 September, and I was there until July. So I'm back. I was the director of CARICOM Single Market. Yeah.
So, Titus, you spoke about Taiwan.
Mm-hmm.
What can we learn from Taiwan? Because I've been amazed how an island nation just like St. Lucia, Taiwan is an island, and how are they able to how did they get to where they are today, to the point where basically they give us so much assistance? How could that be?
Yeah, because Andre, Taiwan is treated at the time as a part of the 4 Asian tigers that went through this rapid spate of development. You had South Korea, you had Taiwan, you had Singapore, you had Hong Kong. And those, South Korea is part of a peninsula, so it's not an island in that sense. But Taiwan was defined as one of the Asian tigers. And what happened was you had a very visionary prime minister at the time, because the People's Republic of China, there was the revolution in China, which led to the then government in China setting up the government of China on Taiwan. So you hear Taiwan referred to as the People's Republic of China on Taiwan.
Mm-hmm.
So that is where the government settled. So Chiang Kai-shek, who was then the leader, he went about undertaking democratic reforms and instituting changes in Taiwan that has led to its development. What were those based on? It was a highly agrarian society at the time, so made up of a number of small businesses, just as St. Lucia is.
When you say agrarian society,
it was farming and so forth.
Okay,
correct.
yeah.
Sorry about my language. I need to break it down. And so
I remember not all of us are economists and experts.
So there was focus in Taiwan on building small businesses, strengthening small businesses. There was focus also on building human capacity, training and development, technical and vocational training. The government invested heavily in infrastructure to set up the means by which people can move. When people can move, you see, Andre, the thing about growth and a country is growing, it depends on how people are able to interact and trade. So I'll give you an example. If you have a community in Vieux-Fort and another one in Grosley, and there is no road between the two places, the two communities, they will develop at their own pace, in their own isolation. But the moment you put a road between those two places, immediately people can move. Once people are able to move, they're able to exchange ideas, they're able to exchange technology, they're able to exchange and cooperate to produce, they're able to trade. Once you're able to trade, you're able to multiply output. Output meaning whatever you produce, you can get more income from it. So one of the most important things a country can do or must do for itself is develop its infrastructure for communication, transportation. You have traveled, you've been around the world. Every developed country does not only have one mode of moving people and goods, there are multimodal systems, trains, buses, taxis, cars, trucks. So you need to put in infrastructure to allow the people to move. Once people are able to move and they can exchange, the country has a basis for growing. You were asking me about myself, Spider. So I just wanted to close on who I am in terms of what I did, what I've done. But I want to move into this area of where we are as a country and what we really need to do now. If you look carefully at St. Lucia's growth and development path, this road that Sir John built connecting Grosley to Castries, and then moving that route system across from Castries going around the island before. After that was done, if you look at the growth pattern, St. Lucia moved leaps and bounds. In fact, Barbados was worried that St. Lucia was going to overtake them at the time. what did Barbados do? Barbados responded by putting down what you call the ABC highway, connecting the airport, about that area, all the way to the north of the island. What it did, it allowed for the movement of people and goods in a more efficient manner. This gave new impetus to growth. So we in St. Lucia now need to ask ourselves, what is our next direction for growth? Your road infrastructure is like the veins in your system, your body. Your body has veins. If your veins are clogged with cholesterol, the blood does not move quickly. Therefore, you are sluggish. So you need to have, like a country, a system of infrastructure to allow people to move, goods to move. And if you look at the infrastructure we have, the last new road that was built in St. Lucia of any significance was the Millennium Highway in 2000 by Sir John. Since then, we have not had one significant road built. And we have not been even properly maintaining the existing infrastructure. When you try to drive from Castries to Groseley, how much time is spent on that exercise?
Sometimes an entire hour.
Good. Now, you now need to step back and tell yourself, what would be the normal commute time between Castries and Groseley if you were driving at, say, 40 miles an hour or even 35 miles an hour, unimpeded? It would take you no more than 20 minutes, Spider.
If so much.
Now, so Andre, imagine every single day in St. Lucia, every day, you have a person spending, like you say, an hour. If you were to remove 25 minutes out of that hour, you are spending an extra 35 minutes per day just going in one direction. And you spend another 35 minutes coming in, and that's one person, One person. What is the value of 1 hour of your day in terms of dollars and cents? Spider, what is the value of an hour's work? A day's work, let us say, for a laborer is about $70. There. Let's round it off to say $80. And he works for 8 hours. So his hourly wage is about $8. Yeah. So every day you are spending 35 minutes by 2. That's 70 minutes. Round it off to an hour. You're wasting $8 every day. And you multiply that by the number of people who are wasting those hours. Andre, every day we are throwing down the drain millions of dollars in just commuting from Castries to Groseley. So ask ourselves, if we were to build systems that could put that $1 million to work, how much would our country grow? I make this point to say that where we are at now in our country, and where I know the United Workers' Party is pivoting, because the truth is, every single major transformative change in St. Lucia has been done by the United Workers' Party. Everyone. We would in government pivot to create infrastructure to release that time that is wasted, so our people can move and get about their business, so our country can breathe again and grow again. That is one of the focuses of a United Workers' Party administration coming into government. It must attack and address that. Over the last 4 years, maybe I have missed it because I've been out of the island for a while, working in Barbados, but I have not heard a coherent conversation on the development of our infrastructure. I've heard there was a budget focus on infrastructure, but I have not heard a proper conversation on how we intend to expand.
Well, that's easily explained. You have a government without a plan. You're not going to hear that.
So this for me is where our country now needs to be focused on. What are the things we need to do to expand our own internal capacity? And that is where in this administration that is about to get into government, United Workers' Party, that is our focus. Our focus is on seeing how we get our people to move from a dependent environment to an innovative environment, a self-expressive environment. That's where we are. And that's why I am happy to be part of that team, a team led by Alan Chastney, who has demonstrated over and over that he has the capacity, the wherewithal, the knowledge, and the drive and desire.
Okay, I will jump in here, Titus, because you just said, you gave us reasons why you are part of that team with Alan Chastney as the leader. Now, it is my understanding that a question was posed to you only last night, asking you to make a comparison between Philip J. Pierre as a leader and Alan Chastney as a leader. And I've seen, which is what they do, a clip from the St. Lucia Labour Party suggesting that you said that Alan Chastney is reckless and Philip J. Pierre is calculated and measured. Now, you are here. I'm asking you, did you say so? Is that what you said? And if so, why did you say that?
Well, it's very easy. Anyone who wants to do it, whether I say I didn't say it or not, is not material. All you have to do is go back and listen. That's the more material thing.
Right.
So if the Labour Party operatives have listened to what I said, and they can quote me saying that, bravo. If, however, they have listened to me and they have in their own minds make an interpretation and decide to put words, I cannot stop them. I cannot stop it. It is all about how they interpret things, and you cannot force a person to have good comprehension. It all depends on how they comprehend things. But if you want the truth, you simply go back and listen to the tape. And I know I never said Alan Chastney.
Okay, but for the benefit of my listeners who may not have heard the program that you're on last night, which is Newsmaker Live, can you tell us really? That's an interesting question. You chose UWP. Alan Chastney is the leader of the UWP, and we into leadership politics in St. Lucia big time. Whether we don't want to pretend that is not so or not, and so. But I'm asking you the question:
Yes.
What is the difference between Alan Chastney and Philip J.
I will focus not so much on telling you the difference. I'll focus more on telling you what I know about Alan Chastney. I will also tell you what I know about Philip J. Pierre, and you can decide at the end of the day what is the difference. So I have worked with Alan Chastney. I was his permanent secretary in the Ministry of Tourism and Civil Aviation, and in that time, as a permanent secretary, I would have done what I have done for any minister from any political administration. It doesn't matter to me because I'm a civil servant. I would have provided guidance to him in matters pertaining to tourism administration. And Alan Chastney, in my view, apart from him having his own knowledge of the tourism industry as a practitioner, he listened and he took the advice that was given for what it was. I will go further to say I actually traveled with Alan Chastney to a number of meetings around so many countries. And one thing that is clear to me, Alan Chastney is respected across all the significant markets because he has personal knowledge and capacity in the area of tourism. He is received and listened to when he speaks. I watch Alan Chastney walk and travel because he's simply dedicated to doing everything he can for St. Lucia in the area that he was responsible for at the time, tourism. So this is a gentleman who I have seen in my time put everything he can at his disposal to help him develop the tourism industry in St. Lucia and St. Lucia by extension. When Alan became Prime Minister, I watched him and he would have ideas. We would sit down and go into a rigorous debate about those ideas. And the person, I hear so many things about the gentleman, but the person I know is a gentleman that once you are able to give him credible reasons why a particular course of action should or should not be pursued, he will listen. If you are not providing a justifiable reason why something should or should not be done, like any leader, he will proceed with the ideas that he has.
I can attest to that. as
That
someone
is
who
what
has worked with
I know
Alan,
of
yes.
the gentleman.
Yeah.
People may have different views or different perspectives, but I can only speak for myself.
Contrary
That
to
is what-
Titus, just to interject here, contrary to what people say, Alan as a leader actually invites challenges.
He does. He
Yeah,
does.
yeah.
And Alan and I have had significant discussions on different things. And Alan will laugh at the end of the day, say, but you know, Titus and I are on different sides of the fence on this matter.
Mhm.
As a permanent secretary. Now, Andre, because I speak my mind, because I am interested in St. Lucia's development. And whether you are the Prime Minister, the Governor General, if something you are advancing will hurt, and by St. Lucia, I'm talking about my brothers, my sisters, my cousins, and everything, you know. If you have an idea that's going to hurt them, I will stand up and defend them. I will do that. It's a duty I have. So, that is the approach I have used with all politicians, including Philip Pierre. And Philip Pierre will tell you the same thing, that I will give him a frank opinion on any matter that he would have come to me with. So Alan is a person who will look at a situation and come up with ideas, innovative ideas. I give you an example of what I mean. You look at VA4. You look at Ojo Labs, and you look at what was the issue here. We had an issue where we were looking at a new industry, an offshore industry, a clean industry. And we did not have the human capacity at that time to work in the industry. What was the innovative thing he did? He said, well, listen, if we can give that an incentive to that investor so that he does not move from St. Lucia, he goes somewhere else. And what is the form of the incentive? We're going to help him meet the costs of training, of paying the salaries for those persons who are not yet up to speed, but with time they will be trained and they will be able to become competent and make an investment, not so much as an incentive to the investor, but in the people themselves. That was an innovative approach to ensuring we have a clean industry that is an industry of the future, present and the future, in St. Lucia through the Ojo Labs and ITEL BPO. And so today you have over 1,000 young people working because of that one decisive, innovative approach. At the time, Ojo Labs was a subject of political attack. Today it is not. You look at, for instance, Cabot. That, and you would recall, Andre, when Chasney's administration went through the process of leveraging resources from the NIC to keep that business and get it going, it was the subject of great ridicule and opposition by the current government. And when the current government...
Till this day, you have Richard Frederick on his show criticizing the fact that NIC gave a loan to Cabot to purchase the property, and we gave Cabot St. Lucian's money from the NIC. You know, I mean, and I wonder if he actually knows better, because I used to think he was just political mischief. But you're in government now. I mean, you've achieved what you wanted, you won the election, but he still continues that rhetoric. So I'm beginning to think that he does not know better.
You see, Andre, this is what Alan did in a bid to ensure we kept that. Are we worse off today from that investment? Answer is no. Are we as a St. Lucian people worse off from the approach and investment in Ojo Labs? No.
But that is, may I say to you, there's nothing
we are
new.
As a country better off. Before you go, Spider, we look at, for instance, the Diamol, and all the attack around the Diamol. The Diamol is up and running today. A dilapidated building that once said it was not fit for. He took an approach to getting that mall rehabilitated. Today, where are we? We have a mall functioning, providing economic livelihoods to people. Is St. Lucia worse off? And will St. Lucia be worse off in the future with this mall? The answer is no, because when you look at the investment that was made at that time in that mall, and you now have a structure that will be in place for how many more years in the future, which will give how much returns on that investment, you begin to understand that investments like this are not for the time T, not for the one point in time, but they are meant to be transformative investments. That is what I see Alan Shastney has done. So,
I just wanted to say too that you saying things that are current, but I have to tell you, maybe I have a few more days than you on this earth. I have lived long enough to know that is nothing new of the St. Lucia Labour Party.
No, that's nothing new.
They condemned the causeway to Pigeon Point.
Yes.
They condemned the dredging of the Rodney Bay Marina.
Absolutely.
They condemned the building of the Iwanura International Airport. They condemned the building of the highway from Castries to Grosley.
Even the Rosa Dam.
Everything that is today,
yes,
okay, opening up avenues and opportunities for St. Lucia, the Labour Party opposite, including independence for St. Lucia.
The truth of the matter is that the Labour Party, its record on making the right decisions on key matters in terms of where it stood at the time on the decision, its record is well documented, and sadly, it does not have an encouraging record on all the major critical developments that have led to the transformation of St. Lucia, including independence. The Labour Party is on the other side of the record. So the Labour Party has never been able, for instance, to not comment on any leader that the United Workers' Party has had, whether it be John Compton, Stevenson King, Vaughan Lewis. There has never been a leader in the United Workers' Party that the Labour Party has found fit for leadership. None, including Sir John. Today, the Labour Party says to you, Sir John was a great leader. At the time, he was not. The point is, I don't know how much credence any objective person can give to an opinion expressed by the Labour Party on any matter of seriousness. Because the record is clear. They have been on the other side of common sense decisions, development decisions, when the evidence at the time was pointing, you need to support, you need to be in alignment. They have been on. So I am not surprised if today it is Alan Shastney and tomorrow morning it's someone else. That person will be the worst person. There is nothing new here. It is Labour Party 101.
So you worked with both the former Prime Minister, leader of the opposition, and now the current Prime Minister when you were Permanent Secretary?
Yes. In fact, I worked with Philip as Deputy PS and PS, and we had a good relationship, no issue. And I will say it again, I am not in this politics thing to tell lies or to put hatred or cantankerous behavior. I would rather not be in it if my time in it is about that. It's not worth my time. So it's only about what I think is the truth. And I will say it again as I said last night. The person of Philip here is a person who is not going to be innovative, take a chance and do something. That's not him. That's not who he is by character, by nature. That's not the person he is.
Despite the fact that he has all his members who are around him and who could advise him?
No, I'm saying him, himself. That's but everyone can reach their own conclusion about Mr. Pierre. His way of doing things is not built, is not driven by that innovative drive and thinking out of the box. He is more of the conservative, thing. And there is nothing wrong with that. That is who he is.
I just have a layman description
That is who he
of
is.
that kind of leadership. And by the way, our former leader, Stevenson King, falls in that category. These are leaders, okay, who will not climb the coconut tree to pick a coconut. They will not throw a stone to pick the coconut. They will not take a stick, like what we call a gullet, to pick the coconut. They will sit under the coconut tree and wait for the coconut to fall. Okay, those are the kind of leaders they are.
Despite I will not say these things. I will simply say that. I will simply say that if you think of Sir John went in areas that people had not gone before.
Right.
He was innovative. He was thinking of doing things way ahead.
Innovative and proactive.
And for that, he was lambasted. He was called dictator. They was said that he don't listen to his cabinet. things very similar to what is being said about Shasney today.
Yeah.
So I say in this business, where you have a country that is a developing country, it's not yet developed. That country requires leadership that does not just toe the line. That country requires leadership that has to be imaginative. Leadership that has to look to doing things in a manner to get a return so that the country can grow and develop.
And in today's world, you must be. Andre, look at what happened in 2020, 2021. Something no one in the world anticipated, envisaged, or experienced before, COVID-19. And we had to deal with it. Look at how remarkably well Alan Shasney, as our leader, handled the COVID crisis. And I'm telling you, I have many reasons to have faith in him as a visionary, as an innovative leader, as Titus indicated, but that topped it for me.
I'm in agreement with you on that. I'm totally in agreement. Alan Shasney demonstrated during COVID-19 in an environment where there was no script, there was no way, this is how to do it. And he led in a creative, imaginative way. He began speaking of being able to balance livelihoods and lives. That was the language he was using at the time. And it turns out that that language is really and truly what we have to do now. Alan Shasney was using the COVID-19 as a point to reset the economy.
Right.
And that reset we saw after COVID in what we call a V-shape, a significant rebound in the economy. When Alan Shasney was, during COVID, speaking about, let us deal with the infrastructure, he was talking about, let us continue the airport development. At that time he was doing that, the opposition's position was, who of sound mind will be talking about using tourism head tax to build an airport? Only Alan Shasney in the world, only leader in the world
Philip
who
J.P. actually
believes
said it, that
tourism is going to come back to where it is.
That's right.
And that was what was being said by the opposition leader at the time in a very calm environment. He said only Alan Shasney believes tourism is going to return to where it is. And therefore, tourism has not just returned, it has surpassed. So if you ask me, that is confirmation coming from the leader of the opposition himself that this man is the right man for the job. He has actually endorsed him, because the outcome is what he was thinking would never happen. Alan Shasney saw it happening and it actually materialized. This is where we are today. So I think sometimes, in the politics, people want to show they are so different to the other, and they want to, to show up. And we go about it the wrong way. We go about it the wrong way, if you ask me. We take hard positions and we don't find a common ground. I think these things leave us in a very unfortunate position at the end, because we see our hard position was actually the wrong position, as opposed to having a more a middle of the road, well thought through position.
But you see, Titus, having said what you just said there, I mean, we all lived it, we saw it for ourselves and so on. But I can tell you, based on what I've seen with the current leader, Philip J.P., had he been our Prime Minister during COVID, okay, Andre, as a media person, will go to him and Mr. Prime Minister, he would tell Andre, I'm not a doctor, okay, while St. Lucians were dying. That is the fundamental difference between the two individuals. I'm telling you, I mean, nobody can argue with me. I'm not making up anything here right now. You understand what I'm saying? That's what he would tell you. And so we want people, and he would be sitting under the coconut tree, letting the wind blow and hope that the coconut falls. That's not what we want. You understand? Like you said, we have to be innovative. Now, that is what I am impressed about the team that the UWP is presenting. Now, people will say to me, you were just recently part of the team. What about it? I have no compunctions about admitting that this is a far better team than we had before. Okay? With Alan Shasney's leadership and the caliber of people that we have now, St. Lucia is well placed to take off in the right direction. And I'm not going to try to make Titus believe, which he already knows and knows better than I do because of where he's placed, that it is any easy walk in the park. That
Absolutely not. Absolutely
you'll have a challenge, a task on hand.
We have serious challenges. But
Mr. Pville, I was just thinking, you were saying a while ago, what the kind of person that, or the personality of our current Prime Minister. You're saying he's just not that kind of person. So what kind of person is he in your view? Or you rather not go there?
I rather not go there. I don't really want to get into the one-on-one.
Under the coconut tree waiting for coconut soup.
I don't really. You see, Andre. Here is where I come from. I come from the place where I assume, and maybe it's an assumption that might be false, but I strongly believe St. Lucians are intelligent people. I don't put my people down.
Most of us are.
Like in all societies, but I'm saying very seriously, Spider. I have been in too many environments where I watch how St. Lucians operate. St. Lucians are extremely innovative people, creative people. They remind me a lot of Jamaicans. I mean, I tell you that because I live in Jamaica for a long time. Very, very similar in terms of go-get. We don't sit and wait. That was not the St. Lucian I come from.
I'm going to interrupt you here.
And
I have to stop you here.
Yeah.
I have heard you, since you came on the scene, make a certain statement that caught my attention. At the time, you were pointing out the difference between an SLP, which is one of the major parties, the ruling party at the moment, and the United Workers' Party, which is the other main party, which is the alternative government, the government in waiting. Mm-hmm. And you said certain things that I want you to elaborate on here today, in terms of the difference between the UWP and the SLP.
The UWP's philosophy is grounded on that every St. Lucian who is willing and able to work should be given an opportunity to do so. It is grounded on the fundamental principle that we will give every St. Lucian a hand up and not a handout. And I want to say that again. We will give every St. Lucian who is willing a hand up and not a handout. And I noticed in some quarters, someone drew to my attention that someone, one of the surrogates of the other side, said that I was against social safety nets. I have never said those words. Again, like was being said this morning, if you listen to anything else,
I was just about telling you, they actually said you're against poor people and
or you read
people,
my script,
right.
or you will never see that. Again, it is somebody's interpretation of what I have said. So I cannot control people's interpretation. But what I can say though is that we are in the business of helping people stand on their feet, provide the environment for them to stand on their feet, and once they do so, allow people to express themselves. We don't believe in the Malawi concept because poverty is not a permanent state, and a Malawi ek poverty c'est des différents bagages, Spider. Your program is in English or in Creole? You see, les moun pauvre, un moun pa, ça pas veut dire moun kay we te pauvre pour toute la vie. Mais les moun c'est malheureux, c'est moun vraiment élevé, un malheureux, c'est un femme qui un homme là qui est malheureux. Les un homme c'est malheureux, il passe à faire rien pour quoi. Comme si des jambes cassées, des bois cassés. Avec c'est moun nan en communauté qui a prend kay. Un malheureux c'est même manière. Pauvreté et malheureux c'est des différents bagages. So a person who is poor, meaning, and poverty is all relative to a person who is poor. What it doesn't mean by definition they will remain poor all their lives. They need opportunity to get out of poverty, and that's why we have an education system and other systems. In a society, there are people who may never be able to do it. And that is where you have what you call social safety nets for people who are, in spite of every other effort you will be able to do or make, they won't be able to for a number of reasons. And a society, therefore, must have a system of taking care of those people. Spider, you would have been Minister for Social Transformation. You would have been able to, you can elaborate more than me on some of the social safety net programs so there is no way we could honestly sit here, anyone sit here and say that the administration of the United Workers' Party over time has not treated with persons who are unable, has had no approach, no program, no regard for them. This is untrue.
But Titus, just to make a comment on what you say there, what has struck me is that I refer to you all as newcomers to the UWP, as compared to people like me who are there for 20-something years. When I listen to some of you, the newcomers, very instructively, you all use the word transformative. I've heard it from you, I've heard it from Tommy, I've heard it from Elisha, I've heard it from Laura, I've heard it from Stephen, transformative. And that caught me. I mean, and I reflected and I say, well, I wasn't into that jargon, but when I reflect on what we did as a UWP, even our safety net programs were transformative. Because you see, Andre, right now I can do it for a little couple $100. Titus can give me $200 right now. I mean, I need it, so I appreciate it. But if Titus say to me, okay, here is $5 to buy a meal and go outside and wash my car for me and do this, do that, and then he gives me $200. I walk away with the same $200, but my pride as a man who earned that $200 and the fact that he gave me perhaps a skill or something I can continue to do so that I don't have to come back to him tomorrow for the $200. That is the fundamental difference. When I listen to you, that is what you in effect saying about the approach of a UWP. Do not make me be dependent on you so that you can be my boss every day. I have to come and plead and beg to you. I become a mendicant. You see, people hate to hear those words. We have to eradicate that in this country. And even among y'all now, Titus, take my mother. Poor. But poverty have more than one dimensions. There are rich people who are living a poor life. I will talk about Bruce what I'm familiar with. Some people, the poorest lives you could see, they live it. But these people have land, valuable land, even beach land. But they do not have what it takes to transform that into wealth. That is where you all come in as leaders, to create the avenue. Not only to educate their children, but to even to guide them, to provide, and that is the difference I see between the UWP and the SLP. And the SLP want to maintain the Malway status because that is what they thrive on to win elections. Now, when I listen to you, you're saying things that are not get about vote catching. You more focus on national development and people's advancement. To use your term, transformative type of politics. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Whereas the Labour Party is transactional.
Yeah. You see, Andre, to me, we must not lose sight of the purpose of the political process. It is all about, at least in my interpretation and my orientation, and I say so because my exposure to politics is from the people like Alan Bousquet and John Compton and so. It's a means to an end, and the end is not about you. It's about the people you serve. That's the purpose of the politics. And the people you serve are your common people, is the business community, it is all of that. That's what it is about.
I want to ask you a direct question. You will very well, from what I'm hearing, will win the next election. Your party may form the government. You will be a minister of government, a leader in this country, who charged with the responsibility of making things better for us. Now, do you recognize some of the decisions you may have to make on my behalf may not always be very popular, which means not be vote-catching decisions? Are you going to be one of those who are more concerned about protecting your victory?
No.
I mean, I have to ask you the question directly.
No, it's very straightforward for me, Spider. There are a couple of things about that. If you are making the right decision at the time based on the information you have to make that right decision. It may not be a popular decision. It is always the right thing to make the right decision. That's as simple as that. The issue, and you mentioned this thing about protecting the victory, and just on a side, I don't really want to focus on things like that, because things like that to me are distractions from the big picture. I heard that phrase, protect the victory, and I have been honestly confused about it. I don't understand it. I don't know if you understand it, Andrew. What does it mean? Protect the victory. I don't understand. I tell you why I don't. Because
I think he refers to the gains made by the ruling party.
Yeah, but
so we have to protect the gains.
Andre,
also,
it should be
who are
the
you?
gains made by the people.
Who is the call made to? Who is the call being made to?
The electorate.
all of us.
Yes.
To protect your job and the big salary and the perks and everything you enjoy.
So I am trying to understand the
And
purpose.
while my people are dying on the road, I am not safe in my country. Cost of living is going through the roof, and you tell me you can't do anything about it. Protect me. That's what I'm telling Titus straight now. I'm supporting them fully. Not for them. For us. Okay? To protect us, to make life better for us, and to change our circumstance. That's what I'm supporting them for. Straight out.
Yeah.
Now, Mr. Pville, you haven't told us as yet what got you interested in contesting the Babonneau constituency. I mean, I've known you for many, many years, and
Yes.
I never even knew you were interested in elective politics. So, what got you interested? Or should I say, who got you interested?
There's no who in that. It is my nature. I tell you, I grew up in Babonneau and I saw people work in community. That's what has driven me. All my life, I've been a public officer. Whether it be in St. Lucia, serving the government of St. Lucia, serving multiple governments in the region's public service.
Now, as you say so, Titus, there are those who say, okay, you grew up in Babonneau, I think so, but did you stay in the community? Now, I before you even answer that, for you to have achieved what you did, for you to have attained what you did, you could not have stayed in Babonneau. Because first of all, I ask you, where's your university that is in Babonneau? For you to get the knowledge that you have and so on. So I want you to address that for the people who are making those kinds of comments.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Well, if I stayed in Babonneau.
Whether Rick Wayne would be Mr. World if he stayed in Labrie, whether Derek Walcott would have been the Nobel laureate if he stayed on the show, say, whether,
No, if someone asked me that question, Andre, I would say to the person, do you have a child? And are you sending your child to school? And if you're sending your
I'm
child
sorry,
to school...
I just have to do that, but more recently too. Maybe younger people can relate to that. Would Julian Alfred be the world champion sprinter
Well, that's the point.
if she had stayed in Cicero?
I think it's a very unfortunate question,
You
because it's a question where you have very limited foresight. Because you have a child, if you have a child, Andre, and your child is growing, you want the best for your child, yeah? So the child goes off to school in Canada and studies and comes back home and goes back. Andre, did you do anything wrong? Did you do anything wrong if your child has gone off and studied? No. And therefore, should the society blame your child for doing and achieving in a manner that every other parent is seeking to do? Every other parent. Think about it. Everyone is seeking to get his or her child to get the best opportunity in life. That's why you send your children to school.
Although my question to you, Titus, though, would have been, you went and you got your education, and did you come back to serve?
No. I did. I come back to St. Lucia. I served.
That's where I would join the person. Saying, well, you abandoned ship,
No. I mean, I've never gone anywhere else.
Exactly.
I've been in Babonneau. If I was doing my garden in Babonneau up to the time I went up to Barbados. Not a big garden, but down that lake one day, I still plant my dashing and my plantains, and I was selling by the market. Yeah, so there's no problem in this. But I'm saying we need to look at, as a society, a bigger picture here. We need to ask ourselves, what are we complaining and condemning? Are we condemning people who are successful? Or are we saying that it is not good to be successful? When every day we are ourselves busily trying to be successful? So because it's a contradiction. We cannot be upset with our people who are successful because they've done all the right things. And we ourselves are busily following the same thing so that we can be successful. And if we are, we don't want someone to be vexed with us, but we want to be vexed with someone else. It makes no sense. So we need to step back and look at the things we spend our time and energy on, and just dial back a little bit and say it really and truly does not make sense. So no, Andrew, to answer your question, or Spider, I have what interested me is public service.
Right.
Public service. I have done the tour as an official of government and governments. I'm simply now doing in a position to deal with policy approval, policy evaluation, and policy decision. You are in a position now where you're looking at the full picture and saying, what would be the best options for our country at this time. And I think that is what I personally bring to the table. And I think that is what you see in the team of persons in the United Workers' Party. The group that we have there are people who are mature enough. There are people who have as at their heart, how can we serve our country better? And these people are led by a gentleman who I have, as I said earlier, I have seen where his heart is. His heart is in what can we do to serve and move our country further.
I have a question. This one is for me, because I've been asking this question for a long time. So let me just get your take
Andre,
on
when
that.
I bring my guests here, feel free. No? I'm not like the other side that try to block and defend. Titus have to defend himself.
Yes, I have an important question. You said that you worked with both Alan Chasney and Philip J. Pierre, right? Now, since you were a permanent secretary, I think it's obvious that you can't be fired, right? Mm-hmm. If there's a change in government, I think it's sort of an understanding that permanent secretaries are permanent. You can't fire them. Absolutely. Am I right? No?
Absolutely. No, you're right.
Okay, all right, good. Now, why is it that we can expect permanent secretaries, and you said you worked with both of them, as a matter of fact, and I'm sure you were still, as you said, serving the country. So why is it that when you have a change in administration, that certain positions, and I remember Sir John many years ago saying, you know yourselves, so don't wait for us to tell you to go, kind of thing. How do you decide as a party who goes?
No, but you see, Titus was a professional, and he behaved like a professional. But Spider is a political animal who is a political appointee, okay? And I'm there doing political work. So when you come, you don't treat Titus and myself as the same. Because Titus is a professional, he serves the government. As far as he's concerned, he serves St. Lucia. But I looking to do damage to you for my party. That's what I am, a political operative. That's the difference.
Okay. I think, Andre, to Spider's point, there are certain positions in the public service that a political organization would appoint a person to. And there are positions in the public service that the Public Service Commission appoints people to. So if you are appointed by the Public Service Commission, you are a public officer. If you are appointed as a political person, not on the basis of the hiring process in the public service, because the government reserves the right to bring an advisor to appoint someone.
Titus, maybe you don't know that yet, but I've been around long enough to know, maybe not even on the basis of your qualification or competence.
That's the government's
choice.
Your affiliation. Yeah. And there is nothing wrong with that, Andre, because there are certain positions that an administration coming in would want to ensure that they have certain persons in there to do certain things for them. And this is separate from the public service, where you have your Public Service Commission appointing people through merit. That's why you have a Public Service Commission. And all of these institutions are based on the notion that the people who serve there are serving the state, the country first. So these are men and women of substance, not men and women of straw. So that they are there to see about fairness, equity, because the political dimension of governance will always be there. A political minister of a government, a political prime minister will pursue a political agenda. That's why they are called politicians. Their job is to pursue a political agenda. The civil servant is there to interpret it and implement it. Institutions like the Public Service Commission, the Teaching Service Commission, are there to serve as that buffer between what the political direction or aspirant is and the issue of fairness under the Constitution to every St. Lucian in the society. So if two people appear before the Public Service Commission chair for a job in the public service, and they are both equal, and one is more qualified than the other based on the criteria, the Public Service Commission's duty is to hire the best person for the job. You might very well find from time to time a politician saying, I want you to hire this other one who is not the best qualified. So what does the Public Service Commission do? A Public Service Commission that understands and interprets its role properly will hire the person who is best for the job. If the commission is going in the other direction, then the society has a problem, because you have people on that commission who are people of straw, not people of substance. So this is really what. So our society depends on institutions functioning in the way intended. That is it. And once we depart from that, you have the issue of what I just described there, unfairness.
Now, you see, Andre, why it's important to have people in your team who understand government. Because if I have never been in government, I've never served in government, I don't understand government, I will come and figure, as Andre is my little partner, so let me just come and make him my PS, and so on. Not even understanding what is the role of a PS and so on. But I know Andre will tell me yes, everything I come to tell him, he'll tell me yes, he'll do everything I ask him to do and so on. Mm-hmm. And that is what is important, because you see, you must know your role as a leader, and you must make the separation. And it's a good thing you asked that question. You know, and well, Titus, as a former permanent secretary who understands the service, he explained it beautifully.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
and I like the way you explained the political appointee beautifully as well.
You like that? You know, but don't worry. Now that's something
I understand
that UWP has been criticized about, and they may take it badly, but that's a good criticism. You know, when your people are saying, "Boy, you're not checking for us," people have to understand it's not about checking for you based on preference, based on, you know, like Titus say, merit. You know, and even for political appointees, if I'm serious about doing a good job, I will not appoint you, Andre, just because you have allegiances with my party or my supporter and so on. I have a job to do, and I want to do a good job. And you just don't have what it takes. You understand what I'm saying? So even there, good decisions have to be made and so on. Yeah, but then you see, sometimes it's outright rewarding people for their contribution to the campaign and, you know, that kind of thing. And that, in effect, has a negative, deleterious effect, outcome on what happens in our country and to our people.
Do you agree that both sides of the divide do that?
But it's far more, yes, but it's far more pronounced on the Labour Party side. And you can challenge me on that, you know, Andre. You know,
Andre, I think as a society we can always look internally and find, for all his errors, Sir John Compton, I think we can use him as a benchmark. Whenever we think we're going off, go back and say, well, how would he have dealt with that matter? Sir John in his cabinet had persons, and in his government, in key positions, had persons who he knew were anti his political thinking and organization. But not for one moment would Sir John say, I don't want this person to be my Director of Agricultural Services, or this person to be my Cabinet Secretary, because this person I understand or I know happens to be aligned with the other side. Sir John says, are you here to do your work? You're here to do your work, you're qualified, get on with your work. I think when we begin to go off, let's remember that we have in the past governed ourselves, if not perfectly, very near perfectly. We are able to do it. We have the capacity. We just need to find it within us to do what we know we can do.
But you see, Andre, it is being practiced by the UWP, but the UWP is not a party that, you know, touts what they do too much. But it is being done, because you hear them say, we victimize this, we victimize that, and so on. I, as minister, worked with many known SLP people. I didn't touch them when I came into office. I just, once you're doing your job, and so on. I mean, Joachim Henry can tell you. He was the executive director of the SSDF, a key institution for government and so on. I didn't go after him, you understand. He remained as my executive director and so on. Now, you see, now people will not talk about those things. You know? My brother worked at SSDF. When the government changed, he had to go too. That is the difference. You know, I can speak to those actual direct examples. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, Alison Mathre was appointed after Joachim went off on his political career and so on. But because he was appointed during my time, when the government changed, his contract was not renewed. But you'll hear the Labour Party now, and you'll think that it is the other way around, because they point fingers, they make accusations and allegations, and they accuse people of everything that they are guilty of.
And I like the point you made, Mr. Montoya, when you said that even in those kinds of political appointments, that due care, consideration have to be. You have to ensure that you have those things at the front of your thinking.
That's right.
Because if you appoint somebody just because you want to make up for a favor, then you're putting the country in problems.
Because at the end of the day, it's taxpayers' money paying for it.
Exactly.
And I like what you said at the beginning, Titus, when you said your constituency office becomes something different when you become the parliamentary representative. Because you see, let us assume, and I'm careful about saying that because you might see a meme tomorrow saying I'm a Labour supporter. But let us assume I'm supporting the St. Lucia Labour Party. And Titus is now the parliamentary representative of Bavano. A yellow office, his big flambeau symbol, and all that thing. He has not said to me, Spider, do not come here. But how welcome, how inviting is that place for me, knowing that I am a Labour supporter. And whether it is flambeau or SLP, I think as a rep, you're no longer the candidate for UWP. You're not the one paying for that office. Our tax money is paid for. Repaint the damn office. Remove your yellow from it. Make it more neutral as far as I'm concerned.
Now, I'm laughing, Mr. Mantud, because I'm quoting you. I'm a supporter of the Labour Party. It's true. You take that and make a meme with that.
But I'm telling you, and I cannot say I did not say that.
Exactly.
Because they take the clip and show that you say that. But the context, they will not, So, but I can't be living in fear of that kind of thing and so on, But let them say that for me to respond. That's what they should do. Let them say that for me to respond. But back to our guest. Titus, in a moment, we're going to open the lines because I know some of my people are dying to interact with you. But Andre, today, don't let anybody take over my show. I watch you guys a lot, you, Rick Wayne, Timothy, and so on, and I'll take a page from Rick Wayne. It's my show. Okay? So nobody comes here and speaks for the next half hour. I want to have as many callers as possible. I want to give as many people access to my guests as possible. So you will give the number, and we'll open the lines. And you see, just like you asked the question, gives Titus an opportunity to clarify a lot of things. The politics, and I want to be a leader in my country, so I want to know you, I want to know where you're coming from. So let us ask the question. So give the people an opportunity to question my guest.
Sure. Okay, let me just give the numbers. The fixed line is 572-9710. That's our fixed line, 572-9710. Or the WhatsApp platform, it is 287-0971. The WhatsApp platform is 287-0971. Again, fixed line, 572-9710. WhatsApp is 287-0971. You have somebody on the WhatsApp platform.
Just one rule for my program. Be respectful and courteous to my guests. Good morning to you, caller.
Your headphones?
Oh, sorry. Good morning to you, caller. Welcome to Meet the Opposition, soon to be Meet the Party in the government in waiting. I have here Mr. Titus Pville. I'm sure you have some comment or question to ask my guest. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Mr. Pville. Good morning, Spider, and good morning, Andrew.
Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Spider, before I ask my question or make my statement, I listened to the program from the beginning. I must remind you of the old saying that you cannot draw blood out of a stone.
Okay.
I say that in regard to the question the journalist asked the Prime Minister at the press briefing regarding
NIC,
I think,
and the population. Yeah.
NIC. What this Prime Minister has shown us, Spider, at time after time, he's unable to grasp and understand the serious issues of our time. That is why he laughs instead of answering any question which requires any serious and thoughtful deliberations. He just does not have it in him, period. So you cannot draw blood out of a stone. But anyway, Mr. Pville, it is not flattering, but I think that you're a fine catch for the UWP.
Thank you, sir.
You, along with some of the new,
and more importantly, sir, for the country.
Yes, very, very so. But I listened to your academic and professional background and achievements so far. I say so far because when you become a minister, there is much more to come, I know. But I would want to know, did you ever envisage yourself as being part of an SLP government at a ministerial level at any point in your life? And if not, why not?
Well, yeah, that's real good to
And
know on the spot.
Before I go, Spider, just a bit of advice for you.
Yeah.
Do not sit under any coconut tree waiting for the wind to blow and the coconut to fall. That's suicidal.
Okay.
You better off sitting under a mango tree or a plum tree and wait for the coconut to fall.
Okay.
Anyway, I'll listen up.
Thank you.
Okay, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. Yes, sir. It's always easy to speak the truth. I have never envisaged myself being in the political arena under the St. Lucia Labour Party or any other political party for that matter. I joined the United Workers Party in 1990. Long before Spider was in the UWP.
You're right about that.
And I say so because I had already identified with the values I saw in the UWP. My sojourn into politics for me is something that was almost always there in coming because of my orientation to public service. I will not tell you here on air the number of times the leadership of not just this Labour Party, previous Labour Party, have asked me to serve in the community for them. No, that's not important. The important thing is that I always knew that any day I go into politics, it would be with the United Workers Party because of the value systems, the value proposals, the history of development and transformation that they have been associated with.
You have another call?
Yes, caller, good morning. We have another caller on the line. Welcome to Meet the Opposition. Please go ahead and make your contribution.
Good morning, Mr. Montu. Good morning, Andrew. Good morning to the next parliamentary rep for Babono, Mr. Titus Pville.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you, Chief.
I want to say to the St. Lucian public, the choice is clear. When you look at the candidates, the caliber of candidates that the United Workers Party has attracted, like in the likes of Titus Pville, there's no question that we should elect the United Workers Party. You have credible candidates with experience, both on the regional and international scale. You have candidates with proven track record like Titus Pville, Tommy Descat, Stephen Pville, and the list goes on and on. I want to ask Mr. Pville a question. How would you rate the leadership of Alan Chasney from 10 being the highest to 1 being the worst? And how would you rate Philip Japier's performance, 10 being the highest, 1 being the worst? Because you see, it all boils down to leadership. And from what I'm seeing, there's no leadership in Philip Japier. There's no leadership. The man is not serious. He takes the country for a joke. Look, for instance, sadly, we had another homicide in the Leslieland area, in the Castries area this morning. So we're not feeling safe in the country. The economy is in a mess.
Thanks for mentioning that, caller. These are things that we don't talk about in St. Lucia anymore. When people die, it doesn't matter to our leaders. It's not even a subject. But thanks for mentioning that.
Exactly. And when you have candidates of the caliber of Mr. Titus Pville offering himself, the choice is clear. Vote the UWP St. Lucia. But I want Mr. Pville to give me a grading. How would you rate Alan Chasney, 10 being the highest, 1 being the lowest, and Philip Japier as Prime Minister?
Well, thank you very much. Putting my guest on the spot. The more the man tell you he's not into that kind of thing. I don't know.
I understand the question. It's very straightforward question. Thank you for the question, caller. Caller, what I think of Philip Japier's rating as a leader is not so important, It is what St. Lucia and St. Lucians think.
In other words, listeners, if he was a leader, he probably could have rated him as a leader.
So and that will be determined in the upcoming general elections. So what I think here is not even so important. Is what St. Lucians themselves think and how they are going to demonstrate that in the next general elections. That's most important. With respect to Alan Chastney, I have already said what I think about his leadership, how he has demonstrated his leadership, and demonstrated leadership in a situation of crisis. I've explained how he has demonstrated leadership in the area of innovative approaches to problem solving, and looking at new frontiers for development. I have already outlined that. So I am not about putting Alan and giving him a 12 out of 10 on a scale of 10 or 1 out of 10. I say the gentleman is more than fit and ready, and he has demonstrated that he is so ready to lead St. Lucia. So again, we will all see at the elections how the St. Lucians think about our leader and our political party.
Okay.
You have another call?
I think we have another caller. Good morning, caller. Welcome to Meet the Opposition.
Good morning.
Go ahead, please.
Morning.
Yes, I have an observation, Mr. Spider and your guest, for the 10-year passport. And you can agree with me or my observation. My observation is that the 10-year passport wasn't passed for the benefit of St. Lucians. The 10-year passport was passed for the benefits of the CIP holders across the world. Now picture yourself. Wow. You're living in Dubai, you have business to do, and every 5 years you have to come to St. Lucia and renew your passport. I don't know how the process is, but I believe that process was made specifically for the people who have obtained our passports and who are going to become voters in the next couple of years, and who are going to be making children in the next couple of years. And you notice that our population is having a mass extinction, and those people are going to be filling up the roles of able St. Lucians and what they're supposed to be doing. So in other words, what I'm trying to say, my brother, it is time for us to cut out and disband the CIP program and start with leverage by investment. But I will not stay too long in that. Have a blessed one.
Okay, thank you, caller. I don't know if you want to make any comment, Titus? Not really.
I know I never thought of the 10-year in that context.
I didn't think of it that way.
I thought of the 10-year as something that ought to have been done.
It was 10 years. Let's forget they are the ones who brought it to 5 years and increased the amount. So I thought they were not doing it for the benefit of people, they did it because the elections are around the corner. Simple and straight.
Yeah.
But you may have a point that may be a consideration as well. I didn't think of that one.
You have another call?
Yeah. Good morning, caller. Welcome to Meet the Opposition. Go ahead, make your contribution, please.
Spider. Good morning, Mr. Pville. Good morning, Andre Paul.
Morning to you, sir.
Okay, Mr. Pville, I want to say I like the stand that you're taking, your style of politics. I really appreciate it. Because leading to the last election, while the MP, the current MP was not the one saying it, but they had a lot of operatives from the SLP. Those who was on the ground taking photos of that road, that link road between Bourges going all the way to Chassin. And they was chastising, saying, oh, how Ezekiel doing work for himself and whatever. And now I heard the present rep speaking about that road. So I hope if they're doing it, that people like you will not be saying, oh, you're doing road that have house for nowhere. Because that's a very important road. And if when Christopher Hunt was speaking and saying all what he was saying, and they did not stop that road, right now, coming from Bourges, within 10 minutes, you could have been leaving Bourges and reach down Chassis. It's also a big help for the people from Debarra, so they don't have to go all the way through Gawan. They could just pass through Bourges, go for Tishime. So I like the style that you're coming with. Let's keep it up, and Babono should be yours, no problem. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. Thank you very much.
People endorsing you.
No, but I mean, again, I would say, Spider, the roads are what make us grow. Yeah. And that road between the bottom of Bourges there and for us, so Chassin, it's a critical road. So I couldn't find how any sensible person would have opposed that road. I couldn't believe that there would have been opposition to such a thing.
Well, they oppose everything, even when they're in government, they're still opposing. Yeah, good morning, caller. Welcome to Meet the Opposition. Go ahead, make your contribution, please.
Good morning, Mr. Montut.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning to Andre, and good morning to your guest, Titus.
Morning, caller.
Titus, welcome aboard the captain's deck of the United Workers' Party.
Thank you, sir.
I know you come from a different world but the world you're entering now is a world of politics. But a world of truth, respect, humility, but it's a hard world. And I have not been very pleased with your the contrast when you're asked to compare the leadership of Alan Chasney and that of Philip J. Pierre. So I will help you. And I'll help you, and I hope you answer that question. What is the negative impact economically to our country when the present government stops a huge project like the Uenora International Airport redevelopment project, where we were committed to loans to many different bank conglomerates and to our local banks and also to the Exim Bank in Taiwan. So we had to end these loans. There are costs to that. And also the Rodney Bay Highway. I just want you to tell us economically or financially how hard hit, what kind of cost, how many millions of dollars has that cost our country? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, caller. Caller, my style is not going into direct contrast. Anything that is about further division in my country is not my style. My style, so I'm not here to discuss personality differences. I am here to discuss policy differences. And so your question now is a fundamental policy question. The question is, why would a government, an administration, abandon a road under construction by the government of St. Lucia, the last administration, between Bois d'Orange and
Rodney Bay?
By Rodney Bay. In the light of what we can see right now, we spoke about the congestion moving. Why would you do that? And with respect to that road, my understanding is that this was supposed to be a development, finance, and construct road. And the contractor, I think it was Fresh Start at the time, was to deliver that Falling Road?
Yes.
For 15 million EC dollars.
Yes.
15 million EC dollars. The government comes into office, and the government, in adopting its policy stance, decides to stop the road and undertake an investigation into that project. The investigation was supposed to have lasted 60 days. How many days have passed since that time? We're over 1,000 something days and counting. I don't know, Spider, if you've seen a report of the investigation. I don't know, Andrew, if you had a report on it. I have not seen it. So there's no report. In the meantime, however, we are understanding that based on the assessment that was done by the government of that road, somewhere in the region of about $22 million worth of work had already been done. So we were already getting, as a country, $22 million worth of value on that road,
for 15 million,
for which we were contractually due to pay 15 million. In the meantime, the road has deteriorated. We have had countless years of opportunity lost in cost, time wasting on that. The road infrastructure, the surface has deteriorated. The government of St. Lucia, in this one action, would have had to settle costs with the contractor for breach of contract. Right. And this road still has to be built. And therefore the question is, how much will it cost us to build the road that was supposed to have been built? I am hearing it might cost us in the region of perhaps another 20 million. So here we are. Let us do the math. You have a government that comes into office. It stops a project. It says it is going to do an investigation. We are not sure if the investigation was done or not. What did it find? We do not know. But bottom line, St. Lucians now have had to live through all of those years of this administration without a proper road. We have now got to find somewhere in the region of another $20 million to build a road on which we have already we had value of 22 million for 15 million. So when you add whatever it's going to cost, Spider, to build that road to the 15 from 22 is about 7. Another, we will find ourselves spending, and I'm not even adding on to that the costs in terms of compensation to the contractor. We will spend in the region of over $30 million for a road, extra $30 million more for a road that we were supposed to get for $15 million. Now this is what this administration, under the leadership of the current Prime Minister, has done. You take Huronura International Airport, and we need to look at Huronura International Airport for what it is truly, the story behind it. This is an airport that in 2007, under Stephenson King, after Sir John died, a decision was made that we are going to finance the redevelopment of Huronura through an airport, a special airport departure tax. That tax was, I think, US $35 per passenger departure tax. If you do the math, 2007, we would have, and this, so we had established a mechanism through IATA, the International Air Transport Services Association. We had established a mechanism where persons' departures were paying the $45. That stopped in 2012 when the Labour Party administration came into office. So we would have, and if you work out the numbers, you can look at the data, the average number of persons arriving in St. Lucia every year at Huronura, and the average number coming in at Fiji, because the tax was being, we easily, around 400,000 persons, 350 to 400,000 persons were moving every year. You multiply that 350 to 4,000 by $35. If we had kept doing that from 2007 to 2021, we would have been more than able to finance, or Alan came in 2016, even up to 2016, we'd have been more than able to have raised a significant amount of money to go towards financing that airport without us taking any significant loans. So the first action by the St. Lucia Labour Party in 2011 when it came in was to stop collecting the monies that were meant to build that airport. So when Alan Shastner would have come in 2016 and thereabout in 2017 to commence that airport, he now undertook, and the airport was supposed to cost $175 million. So he now has to go finding a loan. Now here it is. Let's contrast the things. Here is an administration that had written extensively about borrowing. St. Alan was borrowing during COVID. So it was saying borrowing is not a good thing. Whether you're borrowing for an airport that has a revenue stream is a different story. But borrowing was bad. But that administration was saying, don't collect the tax. Don't collect the tax. Therefore, if you're not going to collect the tax by the persons using the airport to build the airport, how else are you expected to finance the airport? It's by borrowing. So you say don't borrow, and you say don't collect the resources. It's just crazy. There is no logic to it. So Alan Chancellor decides the airport needs to be built. So he gets this syndicate loan that the gentleman spoke about, and very importantly, he got, through the Taiwanese arrangements at the time, an independent Taiwanese company to oversee the construction. Independent. So it's not a St. Lucian company, any quid pro quo. No, it was an independent entity overseeing the construction, competent in that area. The government comes, and this entity had given us a particular, the loan package had a 5-year moratorium for repayment. The government comes in office, and by the way, we had there were piles driven in VA4 already. I think I was trying to get the number of piles and whatnot. There's almost 1,000 piles. Montu, you might be able to, you were in government, you might be able to remember the numbers.
I don't know the exact numbers. Yeah. I know there were piles driven.
Yeah, there were piles driven in there already to build. Mm-hmm. The government comes and the government stops this project. Now let us look at all the dimensions of this, separate and apart from the financing. St. Lucia has maintained diplomatic relations with Taiwan. It is true to say the people of Taiwan, the taxpayers' monies of Taiwan, have been going into our communities on the community development programs, agricultural programs, a number of programs. For once, St. Lucia was in a position where it could show some level of reciprocity that you have been giving us all along this. But we have an opportunity now to work with you, to partner with you in you providing the financing to us. And we will build the airport and we will pay you back that financing because we had stopped collecting the money. We're going to take a loan. Let's take it with a partner who has been working with us. That was part of the thinking behind the decision. And to think that the government comes into office and it looks at one of its key allies and partners and it says, I no longer want to do business with you. I will do it with somebody else. How does that sit diplomatically? How does that cast St. Lucia in a light as a partner in a diplomatic arrangement?
Well, I'm happy you're concerned about matters of that nature.
Final caller?
Yes, because they don't even care what the death of Tyson does to our image and relations with the French. They don't care about things like that. Anyway, caller, you're the final caller for this morning. Welcome to Meet the Opposition. Go ahead and make your contribution, please, but try to make it as brief as you can.
Very brief. Good morning to all.
Good morning.
You use some interesting language to associate with your political leader. Innovative was one of them, and you reference the government having to foot the bill of a private company, Ojolabs I'm speaking of, as a means of keeping their business or getting their business here. So government taxpayer revenue to pay salaries for St. Lucian citizens for a number of years, that's innovative. So my question to you is, how would you describe the youth economy agency that's using taxpayer revenue with the support of the Taiwanese government to provide grants and now I'm told loans to young people, eligible young people, people with business ideas and so on, to give them a hand up, to use your language, to start their businesses? How would you characterize that?
I think it's a good initiative, caller.
Okay, good. All right, we don't have a lot of time, according to Spiker.
We don't have a lot of time. I think it's a good initiative.
Good initiative.
Yeah,
so
I think, however, there is a lot more improvement that could be made to it. I think it should. There are other. And if a United Workers' Party were to come into office, I think this is a matter we have to look carefully at and see how this program can be used to go beyond where it is, if you ask me. That's how I say it.
So you will not stop it?
No, I will not stop
like
it. I would not.
Yeah.
No,
Good.
I would.
So, yeah, we'd have a lot of time, like you were saying. So let's move again. Mr. Monsoot also discussed victimization, yeah? It's a recurring issue whenever elections are around the corner or whenever an opposition party is a party is in opposition, as is the case now. Victimization here, there, and everywhere. All right, Mr. Pville, do you believe it is right, fair, acceptable for opposition MPs to be denied state resources at any point in time for whatever reason?
No administration should deny persons who are rightfully elected to represent other people in the country resources to serve the community. Why would anyone be doing that?
Okay, so would you say it is wrong and condemn the previous administration, the political leader, and Spider is going to attest to that, who refused access?
I stop in you right there.
Hold on.
Don't ascribe things to me that I.
No. I said you were there in the cabinet. You were there in the cabinet.
You were saying I can attest to what you're about to say. And if you're about to say that the previous administration denied the opposition of resources, that is not true.
All right.
I was responsible for the SSDF, and I can go through the records and show you how much was being allocated to the various opposition constituencies. And I can call on the former ED, Mr. Alison Mathrin, if you don't think my word.
Are you able to tell the viewing audience, the listening audience, I beg your pardon, how much was allocated to the opposition MPs at the time? Are you able to do so? Since you're very defensive about that, can you?
I'm not defensive. I'm emphatic about the fact that we allocated resources to them, and you are giving people the impression that We were not. And I'm saying to you, you are wrong. Resources were allocated to opposition constituencies. And I can tell you that for a fact. I don't have the numbers before me there right now.
You can't answer that question, but you're defensive about it anyway.
No. Those are going to answer the question.
No, caller.
You're asking for specifics.
Caller, you need to be fair yourself. You're asking a politician to remember specific numbers. He's not an administrator. Come on, you know better than that. He's not an administrator, caller.
I would have to get that information from the ED or somebody.
Yeah.
But I know for a fact that allocations were made to the...
Let's treat those programs with dignity. You know it's an unfair question.
With dignity. You're sitting next to a man who eggs on an audience to guess what the J in the Prime Minister's name might stand for.
No,
and so why didn't they say... They could have said justice.
Yeah.
I thought they would have said Joker, but they said what they thought of him.
Caller, now we're going down the politics of rhetoric.
Anyway, I brought my guest here. He's the one that's asking for your vote, not me.
Sorry, caller. Sorry, we have to wrap up. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay. Now, let me just say this. I am making those statements here, and I talk about the ED. The EDs who served with me were Alison Mathray. You may not know who that is. But there's another one called Joachim Henry. You know who that is. And if I can send you to him, ask yourself questions. Okay? So anyway, we have to bring it to an end. You see, I just don't like where people make those point-blank statements that are inaccurate, and they know that it is inaccurate. Don't try that on me. I will not sit by and allow you to do that. So, Titus, I've given you... Andre, I'm taking 2 minutes from Andre, and I'm giving you one of it.
Thank you.
To wrap up. Yeah.
Thank you, Spider. Thank you, Andre, for this morning. I think the last caller is an example towards the end of what we don't need in our public discourse. That's my minute.
Spider, you know that
Spider, that is my minute. You gotta take my minute.
He's doing his job. Sorry.
No, and I notice him, but I'm saying that is what is not helping our country. And no matter whether you are supporters of the United Workers' Party or the Labour Party, let us stay focused on what is important. It's our country, it's our people. And factual. Let's just do that. Once we do that, let the people decide at the end of the day who they want to vote for. Don't go into the manipulation and the thing. Maybe I'm being naive about it, but I'm saying that the persons who are involved in that are becoming lesser people. They're not becoming greater people. All you do is make yourself a lesser man or lesser woman. Stand up and just rise to who you can be, your potential, which is something that is a lot more than, being there. I really want to thank you, Spider, for the opportunity to speak with our people in St. Lucia, to speak with my people in Babylon, of course, who they are excited to be part of this movement for change, and hoping that St. Lucians would look at the facts before them, would look at the history of our development, would look at the actions that have been taken by our political leader when he was in government in the truncated period. He never had 5 years to do what he had to do.
That's right.
Bearing in mind he came in 2016 with an economy where Kenny would have said that something had gone wrong, meaning the economy was in dire straits at the time. And he barely had 3 years to do anything. And we can see the record of what he did. So I'm saying that St. Lucians need to cut out the noise and look at substance, and let us make a proper decision when the next general elections are called.
So let me say thank you very much for coming. It was a pleasure having you. As we expose to the general public the caliber of people that are on the slate of the United Workers' Party. Andre, I want to thank you as always playing devil's advocate and bringing out the issues. And sometimes when people think I might be giving peeping those to my guests, you ask the hard questions, and I appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
I want to thank our callers who have called in, because sometimes I may miss some of the points and matters of interest that they want to bring up. I want to thank all our listeners. I want to wish you a very good weekend. And let me just say, in the presence of Titus, before he goes, what you and I will talk about when he goes behind his back country. We hope when he becomes a minister, he still comes to our program.
I hope so. I'll be happy to. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you,
Thank you.
Titus Pville and Mr. Titus Pville. Thank you very much. You've been listening to and viewing Meet the Opposition. Heard and seen on Rev-Up St. Lucia every Thursday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. So join us next week Thursday for another program. Well, this is the end of my stint here on Rev-Up St. Lucia for today. Thanks for listening. We have Kina coming on next. She'll be with you until 3 this afternoon, from 3 o'clock until 6 as usual. Zen the DJ. Do enjoy the rest of your day. Those of you on Facebook, etc., we have to say so long to you. Until next time.